Good day, people. We are going to look at chapter 5, section 3, about marriage and parenthood a little bit. All right. Marriage is a commitment and a pledge or a promise. Okay, we got to establish what the definition of a marriage is. Very important to understand what this is. This is meant to be a lifelong commitment. It is not to be taken lightly, and something that has to be put. A lot of thought has to be put into. I know a lot of younger people sometimes it comes down to whether they're going to be patient or not, or whether they want to jump into things. And sometimes this is one of those things people make that quick commitment idea that we can do this, we got it, and within a couple of years they're finding out, ooh, we don't have this. So it is a little difficult, it is a little tricky, but it is something that can be very fulfilling in a lot of people's lives. A lot of times there's some different reasons for people to get married, or two people are in love together. Like I said, it's a lifelong commitment. For some people, it's just to create a stable environment to help raise kids, all right? And it can be one of these things, or it can be a variety of these things. I should state that as well. It's companionship and comforts, okay? And I read this one, and who I thought of when I read this one was I think of my grandma. My grandfather passed away about 18 years ago now. And about 5 years later, she remarried, and it was just that she married a guy that his wife had passed away, and for them it was comfort. It was companionship, is what it was for, and and there's nothing wrong with that. Some people get married for religious beliefs. I mean, this is sometimes where somebody hurry ups and gets married because somebody accidentally has an unplanned pregnancy. People do this. There's certain parts of the world where it is done for actually cultural power. There is places in the world where that still exists, but it is also part of what I would say their religious beliefs. Some people get married for financial benefits, okay? And this one I think long and hard, and typically when you see stuff like this, I guess if you're looking on a worldwide scale, some people have arranged marriages still. Some people do marriage just to maybe get a financial benefit for themselves and maybe their children. Typically, these financial benefits aren't going to be positive things for the people involved. It's typically going to be more of a negative thing. I mean, I'm sure there has been positive ones. I'm just really not thinking of any off the top of my head. All right, let's talk about some different factors that affect marriage. One is an adjustment, all right? It's going to be an adaptation and change in behavior, all right? And I like telling this story to a lot of people because it's kind of funny, but it's kind of true. The first 3 to 6 months my wife and I lived together, we were ready to kill each other, all right? We did not understand everything that the way the other person did things. It was very tense, actually. It wasn't a lot of fun. And it is an adaptation and change, and you both will have to adapt and change in your lives to marry someone else. But you are committed to that. But like I said, it is a difficult process. If you have good communication, obviously keeping the lines of communication open between two people is a very critical factor. It is one of the biggest factors. Typically, you find in a lot of marriages that don't go very well is that this is one of the first things that closes is the line of communication. Oftentimes, another thing in a marriage that is very important is that you're going to have typically some type of similar values. Okay, when I say similar is very relative. I've known some couples where one's outright as bubbly as can be, very, shall we say, one side politically. Then you meet their significant other, and they're the polar opposite. They're very to themselves, very quiet, very politically the other way. and it's really interesting when you watch these couples work. Um, it's kind of amazing that it works, but obviously something clicks, and the person doesn't question it. You just accept it for what it is. You have realistic expectations of each other. Okay, if you expect you to get married and your husband's going to make $1 million a year, that's probably not the most realistic expectation. All right, um, and even within that, sometimes it is. As I know, I've heard it. I've heard it from people's mouths. It's where some people marry the other one thinking, okay, if I change this and this and then, well, no, you don't change people. You maybe, like it says, you um, commit to each other and you adjust to each other. That's one thing, but you got to be realistic in what you can and can't do with another person around you. All right. And then, like we already talked about, is whether you have similar interests or similar values or not. Um, I put similar values. I meant to put similar interests. That's my mistake. Let me fix that real quickly. Maybe I won't. Maybe I will. Ooh, Mr. Nelson can't type today. Similar interests. All right. It kind of goes back to the same thing. I mean, you got to have a certain amount of tolerance for what the other person likes, whether you like it or not. I mean, I'll use an example. My wife had to learn to watch football whenever football season came around because guess what? Her husband likes football and sports in general. I've had to learn how to watch a little bit of HGTV. Not probably something I would normally watch, but hey, I've learned to watch it, and it's like anything else. You just got to learn to adjust to it. But you can also be a way to open your mind to different things people like as well. All right, now we're going to go to the negative aspect of what can happen in marriages a little bit, and it's what we're going to call problems in marriage. All right, it's no big secret married couples are going to disagree. Whether they show who or where they show it in front of, that's kind of a really interesting question sometimes lies. Um, but it is pretty normal, all right? No married couple is that perfect that they don't disagree or argue. I find if they haven't disagreed very much or argued before they have kids, once they have kids, they're totally going to argue and disagree. And that's a lot to do with just even how parenting styles are going to vary from person to person. Um, it's when the disagreement turns into a big disagreement that you kind of have more of an issue, all right? And this is, like I said, a much bigger factors, okay? And some of these bigger factors are going to be money, work, children, how to raise them, and free time use, all right? And I will dare to say the money is the number one cause of marital problems. Um, to go along with that is the, shall we say, lines of communication between couples, especially if one's spending money on something, one thing, and the other one's thinking they need to spend money on something else. And if those lines of communication close down, usually that's where a lot of problems come in. Work obviously can cause stress in relationship. If you have somebody that's very busy, not at home very much, or even on call a lot, those things tend to lead to a lot of marital problems. I know in the nursing profession, for example, because of the shift work they have to do, it often causes issues within a household. And I mean, it's just because of the odd hours. So a lot of times it's either 6 in the morning or 7 in the morning until 7 in the night, or 7 at night until 7 in the morning. Sometimes those hours create a little tension between husband and wives due to the fact that it isn't normal hours for what a lot of people consider normal hours. Um, Children, like we said, whether to have them, how many to have, has often been a big factor in whether marriages last or not. How to raise them, believe it or not, is a big thing. How you discipline them, things of that nature, can also cause a lot of issues in a marriage. And like I said on there, the use of free time. Okay, this one causes a little conflict between me and my wife at times. It's not very bad, but it does cause a little conflict. If we go on vacation, to me, vacation means I'm going to be a bum. I'm going to be laid on a couch or may lay on a bed somewhere and watch a little TV. My wife goes on vacation. She wants to be up and moving and go, 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 go. And there's nothing wrong with either one. It's just what you want to do with your free time. And as you get older, you find oftentimes you're not so willing to hold your tongue maybe as much when you feel like you feel a certain way about something. Within all these, oftentimes, colors. I didn't want to do that. If you don't come to an agreement and you feel like you want to keep working at it, you're also often going to seek outside help. This is where counseling often comes in, and can be very beneficial for a lot of relationships. I think oftentimes people see counseling as a negative thing, when versus it's all perception. You can perceive it as negative, or you can perceive it as a way to maybe save your marriage. But it's very useful for a lot of people. Unfortunately, if you get no help or agreement can be reached, the next step oftentimes happens is divorce, all right? Well, divorce does occur approximately in 1 in 2 marriages, or 50% of the time. It is actually on a downtrend right now, which is kind of interesting because for about 30 years in a row, it was on an uptrend. Just so we understand, though, a divorce is a legal end to a marriage. It is kind of like anything else. It's going to have a lot of repercussions to you, and it's going to affect your money, your work, your children. All right, and I think some people oftentimes look at it as it's a quick fix. All right, and don't get me wrong, there are situations where divorce is needed. I mean, there's instances of maybe abuse, whether it be physical or verbal or mental abuse, whether it's infidelity in a relationship, things of that nature. Sometimes divorce is the answer, and while I do think most people can work through a lot of issues, certain issues just can't be worked through. All right, and with that, I am going to end on this part of it right now. There will be a part 2 that will be online right along with this one, so go ahead and look for that one right away, please.